So hi everyone, today's episode is particularly important. I'm going to talk about and do an exercise around relationships. So most people know that you don't get far alone in life and that you absolutely need amazing mentors, tutors, sponsors, and team members to really accomplish any of our goals. And so today's episode is all around enhancing those relationships. And I, just to really create the discipline for myself around relationships, there's one thing that I really try to internalize and think about. And I'd like you to today for the purpose of our exercise today. And that is to really think about how each human interaction, especially in the case where we're very busy and we don't always have as much time with our teams and our leaders as we'd like to, every interaction is actually, depending on how it goes, either improving and advancing your relationship and your ability to achieve together, or actually harming and damaging. And that's why I think the precision around kind of understanding how healthy are our relationships and our key relationships, and depending on how healthy they are, how do we move the needle on them with each of our interactions, I think is really important in terms of our professional development. So what I'd like to do today is first give you a little bit of a framework, and I'll highlight that for you. And then we're going to do a very brief exercise where we actually take just one person. I'm going to ask you, so perhaps you can start thinking about, to think of one important relationship in your projects right now or your career right now. And we're going to get ready to kind of use that as an example. So we would obviously go deeper in a longer session, but for this particular example, just think of somebody that's important in terms of the path that you're currently on. So let me just describe the framework we're going to use. So the framework we're going to use is just basically a very simple quadrant, characteristics of the quadrants that I'll take you through. And there's kind of a method of a flow through the quadrants in terms of advancing relationships, but I want you to know up front that it doesn't have to do with how long the relationship exists. It's not, you don't have to go through every quadrant. It's just really a snapshot of the characteristics that are exhibited in each quadrant. So the quadrants are confrontational, which is obviously our least favorite quadrant, contractual, collaboration, and constructive. Okay, so just to describe them very quickly, and I think it's kind of obvious by their names, but confrontational is obviously when one person has a series of objectives, the other person has potentially the opposites or perceived opposite intention, and it's that tug of war where you're pulling against each other in a very self-interested way. Contractual is better than that, but really the difference is that it's still kind of your entitlement quadrant or like a formal contract where it's clearly defined what I expect of you, it's clearly defined what you expect of me, and we are somewhat disinterested in what it takes you to deliver on your end of the bargain. So we kind of identify roles, responsibilities, accountabilities, and we're kind of policing each other. So that's kind of the contractual. And then as we start to move into collaborative, that's where we start to have our self-interest slightly lower, and where we're starting to understand our interdependencies. What can I do to help you achieve your obligations to me, and how can we optimize together? And we're starting to get into each other's headspace a little bit around joint goals. Okay, so collaborative is pretty healthy, and generally collaborative relationships are pretty prevalent at the beginning. Most relationships that are brand new, assuming that people come to the role with the skills and experiences that you would expect, most people sort of start in collaboration. So a lot of new relationships are in there because we give people the benefit of the doubt. And that would be in a teammate. Potentially in a client situation, maybe we start in contractual and we move into collaboration. The best quadrant is the constructive quadrant. So this is the target for as many relationships as you can, but the reality is many of your relationships won't necessarily achieve this, but it's the best quadrant, and it's absolutely the goal. And in the constructive quadrant, it's where you're in the constructive quadrant when you are aware of what success looks like for the other person, they are aware of what success looks like for you, you're brainstorming new versions of success together, you're both picking up the tools around helping each other succeed. You have your self-interest is is quite low. And you can tell actually people's questions change. A boss, for instance, where you're in the constructive quadrant will say, how can I help you? And a boss that's in the collaborative will be like, where are you? Will be much more like interested in the facts. And clients as well, clients as well can get into that constructive framework where they're really looking for the win-wins. So those are the quadrants. So I hope with that description, you're ready with your candidate that you want to practice this with, and you're ready to sort of hear about how you use this framework. So plot in your mind your little relationship and where you are on this quadrant. And what I'd encourage you to think about is that with every interaction, right, you're trying to really improve this flow. And I'll kind of add the arrows of the flow. So we'll start at the bottom. If you have a key relationship that's in confrontational. So in confrontational, basically there's kind of only two ways out of confrontational. Generally, because you're kind of fighting, frankly. So, and generally the person who's more powerful, and power can be power because of their influence, power because of their skill, power because of their position. But generally the person that is more powerful has a better chance of getting themselves out of confrontational. But confrontational either leads to an exit, so like, that's it, I'm not working with you anymore, I'm quitting, or I'm moving, and whatever. Or it kind of starts to move into contractual. Generally. Always ways that you can potentially accelerate the movement, but if you can think about being in confrontational, if that's your situation, you're trying to move the person to contractual. So how do you do that? What kind of small actions can you commit to if that's where your person is? So small actions might be things like, making sure when you're interacting with them, you got to take your emotions out. Confrontational is the most intense, and there's a likelihood that you will bring emotion to that. And bringing emotion to that is not helpful because when you're in confrontational, facts matter a lot. Very, very, very clear and accurate facts. So when you're in confrontational, you want to be fact-based. You want to sometimes bring in external, unbiased views, experts around sort of what needs to be done so that you can inch your way into contractual. Contractual being, I expect this from you and I'm entitled to that for this reason. You expect this from me and we're entitled for this. This is we can agree on the rules of engagement. So from confrontational, you're trying to sort of get away from that. I need this, you need this mode to here's what I will do and this is what you will do, and we will police each other. So it's not the healthiest relationship, but at least it's not focused on pulling in opposite directions. It's focused on a definition of a process or outcome and kind of policing each other on it. Okay, so that's how we inch people into contractual out of confrontational. So if you plotted your person in contractual, so in contractual, again, we're still very much in self-interest. And so the ways to kind of lure people into collaboration starts with questions around, when I do this, what happens to you? So getting at the interdependencies, getting at what looks like success for you, what are you evaluated on, where do our goals align, where might there be more creativity involved. So again, it's still based on kind of a basis of I expect this and you expect this, but it starts to inch into a little bit of the how, creativity on the how. And if we move the needle in this way, how does that impact both of us? And then the last one, so as you kind of move up, so you can get people up into collaboration. And when you're in collaboration, which again is where a lot of us live with our professional colleagues, you're trying to move into the constructive framework and trying to bring people there by absolutely kind of dropping your self-interest, and you're moving very much to the collective, and you come from a place of incredible respect for the other person's skills and capabilities, and you have a belief in that quadrant that you not only can't achieve things without this person, but you can't even come up with what is worthwhile achieving unless this person collaborates and constructs that vision. It's kind of that deep curiosity around the other person's opinion, deep curiosity of how 1 + 1 could equal 3. And in order to get there, it's really, enhanced curiosity around what struggles that individual has, what challenges would be awesome for them to overcome, and continually looking for that alignment, and then listening and celebrating, publicly celebrating, and valuing that person, the people that are in your constructive quadrant, very, very deliberately. So I hope that what you're able to do from this today is kind of have a mental picture of where a key relationship is for you, and what are some potential small micro steps, because remember, with every interaction, we're making a micro step on a pathway within these quadrants. So what micro actions do you want to insert to your next interaction to help improve the quality of your relationship? So that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you found it helpful. Please, of course, comment and let me know, or share this with others. And if you're interested in more, please feel free to come and visit me at my website, or send me any interaction. I'd love to sort of hear how this works for you this week. Take care.